Episode 42, the end of Season 1. All good things must come to an end. All right, so I am not a big Star Trek guy or even Star Wars. And actually, the only one that I saw was Phantom of the Menace, which I don't know, what is it, episode 1 or episode 4? And I saw that in the theaters because at that time people were like standing in line to go into the theaters to watch it. And I mean, that's the extent of my sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars, and oh, but I gotta say, I do love Spaceballs. That was really good. Didn't even have to like fully understand Star Wars and Star Trek to get how funny that was. Mel Brooks and all that. But the reason I bring up that TV show, Star Trek, is for the following quote: "All good things must come to an end." And that quote comes from the character Q during the series finale of Star Trek The Next Generation. And that series finale aired on television on May 23rd, 1994. And I had to Google for that information because I didn't know any of that. But I remember that quote from a long time ago, and I thought it was appropriate for me to say it here and make it part of the title of this episode. Welcome to episode 42 of The Car Diary by Javi S. Thompson. So, this episode is not about the end of the podcast in general, but I have indeed made the decision to bring season 1 of the podcast to a close. 4.5 months ago, this podcast, it didn't exist. It's early October now as I record this, year 2023. The podcast launched near the end of May. I think it was like May 31st, but like the end of May. And in that time, this podcast and its episodes have been listened to almost 2,000 times, and that's just on Spotify. And that's less than half of all the listens across all platforms. So, I didn't really do the math with the pie chart and all that, but it's double that with Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to me from. Thank you so much. Almost 2,000 because my Spotify analytics tell me 1942. That's 1942 people or listens to be exact. And that was a crazy year, middle of World War II, which brings me to saying the following. I think it's just absolutely wild. This podcast has been listened to in 12 countries, which does include the US and Canada, but I love looking at the analytics, gender breakdown, age breakdown, but the one that really gets to me is the country breakdown. Okay, so in the beginning, it was the US and Canada. Germany was always there. It was the first international listen. I went back to my Instagram feed to look for that. And I think I might know who I can thank for that. I might have him on the pod. But then soon thereafter, folks from the Netherlands, Australia, Switzerland, and Estonia. Like, what? And then along the way, we picked up Turkey, France, United Kingdom, Indonesia, and the Bahamas. I think that last one is like, wow, that's really cool. So the reason I bring this up is because, it may not be a large international audience, but I do, it's in the back of my mind. I'm a child of immigrants, Asian American, Korean American, and I will very much admit it bugged me for a while that I didn't have any listeners from Korea or other Asian countries. And I was like trying to figure out what was going on. And like I was trying to, ask my, Instagram friends from Korea, hey, like, what do you think about the podcast? And a Korean hobby friend was like, hey, just so you know, I can't get your podcasts here in Korea, in South Korea. And that they're like, if I try to listen to it, they have to find a workaround like a VPN, and so that's not going to track the country of origin. And so then I started making my YouTube videos public. And by that I mean that initially they were private, and I made the YouTube videos out of the StreamYard recordings only for the sole purpose to make promo reels for my episodes so I could post them up on Instagram. And then instead of keeping them private, I started sharing out the unlisted but shareable link for my fellow YouTube creators. Like, you know what I'm talking about. It's that middle option. It's private, unlisted, and then public. And then I realized that was just too much work, just sharing it out with select few people. So then I started making the videos public, and then I housed them on the Hobby S Thompson, like a new YouTube account I created, a new Instagram account I created. I don't know what I was doing. I still kind of don't know what I'm doing, but like I think I'm getting better and I'm learning more. But there was definitely this early period where I was like, I'm gonna separate out my podcast content just to make it more cleaner and more streamlined. And I realized it's a lot to ask anyone, especially if you're like under the age of 30, to listen to a podcast and for them to like follow you on your own, Denny Cards YouTube and then your Hobby S Thompson YouTube. I'm like, this is way too complicated. Like, no one's got time for this. So, you know, I I I made the videos public, but I have no YouTube presence, which for a while it was okay. I mean, even now it's okay. Like I'm actually that's what I want to get to talking about. But I see that as an opportunity, as a challenge, not as a failure or a embarrassing thing. It's just I haven't really put time into it. I cross post my Instagram reels into TikTok and YouTube, and it doesn't get traction because I haven't tried building communities over there in those two, and definitely not X or Twitter. Tried with Threads, mainly to cross post with Instagram, but man, that was a wild time, whatever it was, like a month or two ago. So anyway, I would like to try something different with the structure of the podcast and my content creation. Um, I would like to come back to doing a season two and, chapter episodes, but I would like to end season one here. And before I get to season two, I would like to try my hand in maybe not optimizing for audio and optimizing for video for YouTube, to maybe build a bigger YouTube presence and to still, post episodes on, in podcast form, but just trying something different. And I know that there's going to be some detractors who are going to say you're doing this for clout. I know people are going to accuse me of that and just anything because that's just how the internet works. But I'm okay with it. I do think that I bring a positive, fun vibe to the hobby, and I'm creating content that I want to see. I want to create. I love to create. I want to have fun. I love having fun, and so I want to explore how I can help make better content for the hobby and really like for myself. So I've talked about this in the past, and I'm not going to get into great detail, but I put it out there in social media. I have my 9 to 5 is a pretty straightforward federal government job where I really don't get to use the creative side of my brain, and um, like more importantly, I guess, is the creative side of my soul. Like I just feel like I haven't really, even now, like I really think I've come a long way with content creation, but what if I haven't I could get better. I think I could have more interesting, more fun, more crazy or hilarious, but also probably terrible. Like just, you take big swings and you can miss. But I think that I want to just try more different things because again, that's kind of like my whole thing is, master of none, jack of all trades. So, oh, I did write here a talking point. A side note is I know that people most of the time it's like well intentioned and they're just kind of probing, but they're like being nice, but they're kind of being a little bit like, how do I extract information from this person? And it's like, people ask me where I work, or they're like, oh, I heard you work at this 3-letter government agency. And I will say, like, it's nice that people are asking or are curious because they want to get to know me more. But I have drawn the line in this. I'm trying to keep boundaries. Like I'm very open about my hobby life, and very open with my own persona on the internet, I guess, which is weird. But my kids, my wife, they're not on there. My job's not on there, and um, yeah, like, eh, it's I think that people who think, oh well, if you talk about work, that means you're opening yourself up to people to probe you and look for you online. I mean, I think that's pretty sus, or I guess that's what they call it, sus, but suspect rationale, because that's like saying if someone talks about having a spouse and kids, that they're opening themselves up to strangers on the internet trying to find pictures of their spouses and kids, and that's. I think we all would all agree that's pretty messed up, and that's beyond the pale. I think I've seen what y'all have done to Jeff Wilson's wife. That's and kids. That's pretty messed up. For those of you who did do things like that, so yeah, I don't subscribe to that line of thinking. Um, I think that uh, the reason I shared all of that in general right now anyway is because I wanted to just say, like, look, my 9 to 5 is pretty straightforward. It's borderline boring, and I get to, in the hobby, just be this creative, fun, different person, and I love it. I mean, that's my escape. The hobby's my escape. The cards are the escape. Initially, it was all about the cards, but now it's about the people and the stories and the relationships, the friendships I'm making, and giving shine to other people. Doing more in the local hobby community. Like, it's more to me now than just about buying cards. It's more than that, and it doesn't matter how big I get. It's not about the number of followers or the number of likes or the clout. It's just about being a value add to the hobby. That's kind of what as I'm talking to this, empty room with this microphone, is this small platform I've created is to do that. I'm gonna take a break there. I think I'm getting sidetracked. All right, so here's how I think I would like for the podcast to play out for the next few or several, or I don't know how many episodes, but I'm not going to stop making episodes. Like I said, I want to maybe optimize for video, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm still I'm still figuring it out. Crazy to believe some people think that I should be as polished as someone who's been doing this for years. I Please don't. Please keep your expectations super low of me. Okay, but I do plan for there to be a season 2, which is when I would go back to my chapters and my guests, because I there are so many things I wanna explore. But what I would like to do until we get to season 2 is untether from this very structured method of, topic to explore and then the guests, because as much as I love this format and the structure, um like, it doesn't really allow for flexibility. And so, these chapters I had in mind, like, they're coming. I still have them back in my mind, and I can't wait to get to them, but not until I have, I don't know what to call them, like bonus episodes or season 1.5 or something like that. And again, to kind of maybe upload on YouTube, and maybe going live, maybe having co-hosts, like, again, just kind of having more flexibility baked in like intentionally baking in some flexibility. So, and by the way, the bonus episodes, my fellow podcasters who use, the app or the website, Spotify for podcasters, which is what I use, you'll know what I'm talking about, because at the bottom of the page, before you publish an episode, there's this option. And by the way, all of this is optional, what I'm about to say, as you may or may not know. But a little behind the curtain, podcast creation, 101, I don't know, 101, 102. But it's there's optional customization. Okay, so but the funny thing is, I love filling this part out, and I always fill it out because, and again, if you're a fellow podcaster, you know exactly what I mean. It's like the finishing line for every episode you publish. You get to fill this optional part out. Um, and it's the following. You can put in the season number, the episode number, whether the contents of the episode are clean or explicit. And then there's the following for 3 options. Episode type. Okay. It's full, trailer, and bonus. And up to this point, I have always selected full episode. And I've always selected clean, and I've always input the season number and the episode number. And that's when I even thought about, oh, like people have seasons. And I've listened to other podcasts where they're like, oh, this is season one, season two, but they would have like clean breaks, like um, 25 episodes, 50 episodes, something like nice and clean. But I just couldn't wait to get to that. Like, this is random, right? Episode 42. But I have always selected full episodes. I only tried trailer once, and that was for the trailer for this episode, but I've never selected bonus. And so, what I would like to do for the next several, again, not sure yet, but what I plan for the next episodes to be are to be bonus episodes. So the next episode and the one after that and the one after that. And I don't know if they're going to come in a weekly basis or sporadic. They may be short, they may be long. Like I said, they may have guests, they may not. There might be a co-host, they may be not. I don't know. There's going to be unpredictable. There's going to be unpredict. Oh my gosh, I can't even say that word. It's going to be unpredictable. I try to say unpredictability. Oh, I did say it. It's going to be unpredictable, and it's baked in with intention, and that's to allow uh, maximum flexibility for me to speak to who I want, when I want, how I want. And not that I couldn't up to this point, because no one's stopping me, right? But I think I was stopping myself. Like, I was self-imposing this structure of the original premise of this podcast, this rum diary, car diary, Hunter S. Thompson, Hobby S. Thompson. Like, I was so locked into, I must stay with this structure, but this isn't an ebook. This isn't a audiobook. This is a podcast, and I want it to be more engaging. I want it to be more interactive. Actually, I've thought about, why don't I go live? I mean, I do everything one take anyway. I, you know, I try to There are some times with my content creation, I'll do a second take just to for better lighting or better audio, but it's just me just talking into my phone or my microphone. And I think I do run the risk that if I do go down this path, that um I'll just sound like one of all the other podcasts out there. But I think that's also okay with me. Maybe I'll do better, or maybe I won't. I mean, there's some really good podcasts out there, and I actually want to talk about that in a n- not too far distant episode. Just what am I listening to? Because maybe you'll like what I listen to. Maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. Maybe I'll have some podcasters on, because I thought about doing a chapter episode about podcasts, but I I can't wait to get there. Like, I have friends who are hobby friends who are setting up podcasts. I would love to help them. I want to show them what I'm doing, and maybe it works for them, maybe it doesn't. Maybe they can learn from my mistakes, or maybe they'll just have to make the mistakes themselves so that they learn. But what I want to do is untether myself from the structure, again, of the original premise of this podcast. I want to allow myself, again, it's because I am allowing myself. I think this is episode is kind of selfish. It's for me. I'm allowing myself to talk more about maybe current events in the hobby, current cards, pickups, cards that I've let go, because I haven't done that at all in this whole 41 episodes. I've done my absolute best to keep it evergreen. Oh yeah, that's the word. I was trying to think about that early today. I couldn't figure it out. But talking about current events, current cards, current sports. We got the NBA preseason just started. We got the NBA season that's going to start soon. Where you know first quarter of the NFL season is done. um, I'm getting into hockey cards, which I never thought would have been happening. But I want to explain why, in a future episode. I want to explain why I've randomly ripped open tennis too, which again, I never thought I would open up tennis cards. I don't know where the limit is. I mean, Alan Ginter is definitely out there. That was a fun rip. But like, am I going to get into pickleball? MetaZoo, these TCG games. I don't know. I don't know where the limits are. And I don't even think there should be limits, but well, I guess the budget limits. I guess there are limits to that. But I'm just having a lot of fun, and I just want to have people come along with me for the ride, the journey, with having fun. Ripping wax in general is such a net loss. I mean, there's nothing that I'm ripping that I'm like, man, I hope I make even half of my money back. Or I'm not even selling my cards. Which I have to do a better job of selling, and that's the other thing I want to do. So I'm just rambling here, but maybe I'll have to cut it for another break here soon. But just thought of I want to also untether from the not grind, but like the having consistency is good, having continuity is good, and a format and structure. But I feel like I've been spending so much time making this podcast and interviewing people and even the talks that I have with people that's not recorded and off the record and just DMs and audio, Instagram video. Been learning so much and I'm learning where all these skeletons are because people are sharing things with me and I'm like, confidentiality is so important to me and I keep it. But the reason I say all that is it's a lot of time and I feel so plugged into the hobby and yet kind of detached from the hobby. It's like I've become too focused on the people and the stories that I have in a way not like forgot about that there are cards because I'm still buying and I'm still loving the cards that I have, but the transactional side of the hobby, the business side of the hobby, I think I want to get to that again because I already did a chapter on buying, trading, selling, BTS. But that's like, how am I going to just stop with one chapter episode and like a couple of guests? I just feel like I have to. I'm not saying I want to go back to breaking or streaming. But I am trying to figure out what I like. I have realized I'm not a very good breaker. I'm not a very good consigner. But can I get better at them? Sure. I don't know if I want to, but can I get better at dealing at shows, both from the dealer side of the table and also the public side of the table? Can I get back into selling? At my local card show and just building more relationships. I think I can. I mean, I I'm not I think sometimes the hesitation I have, and I'll probably talk about this at a later time, but the hesitation I have is like I sometimes feel like I go from being really nice to like really not nice because I'm trying to transact and trying to like I don't know, not lowball or highball, but just more like I just get into this mode. But I think there's a way to do it. And I have to just learn my style, but my negotiation style, just find some way to be maybe nice is not even the word because I think I recently made some sort of content where there's this big difference between kind and nice. You don't have to be nice, but you can still be kind and vice versa. But yeah, being like a kind, firm negotiator, I think that's something that I could hone in on, and that's why people. Isn't that why we like kids in the hobby is so that they can learn how to negotiate and have better people skills. Like I think my people skills is they're okay, but I could do better with them. And so, I think what I want to do is explore. I want to allocate more of my hobby time towards transacting in the hobby. And it's not because I'm hurting for money, although the shutdown stuff really, again, I'm going to talk about this maybe in the future, is that kind of was a little bit of a rude awakening. It was like, oh, what if I needed to liquidate the stuff? Do I have the skills to, the skills to quote unquote pay the bills? So, oh man, after a joke like that, I definitely need a break and then I'll come right back. Oh my goodness. Skills to pay the bills. All right. So I don't want to get too much into the shutdown stuff, but it was averted, but only for 45 days. And so November 17th, or, plus or minus 2 days, we're back at that again. And again, I won't get into it, but it was a rude awakening, or I started getting a little bit like I gotta do something. I have liquid assets, or do I? How liquid are they? Or like I can't hold on to all of these cards forever. I literally had no clue. Seriously, I had no clue what a slab was before I came back into the hobby last year, like August 2022. Did not own a single slab, did not know what a slab was. So my first slabs, and I was like, People do this now? Like, what?" So it's kind of crazy, right? I just did a whole chapter and had guests learning about not podcasts, about grading. And man, I feel like the last year I've learned so much, right? But there's almost like a relearning or re-education. And even while I'm learning, the grading landscape is changing a little bit here and there. And yeah, I'm not, denigrating any one particular or group of grading companies, but yeah, I just do think that we need some more equity, more balance in that space. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to talk about that. You heard me say all that last episode. Okay, literally, I have hundreds of slabs. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds, but like I have hundreds of slabs, and I think slabbing something is a great way to sell it online because it has a grade, it's authentic. I mean, so long as it's done right, right? But the reason I wanted to briefly touch on grading was, yeah, like you have stuff that you can now sell online and you don't have to ask about the corners and let me see the surface. There's a numerical grade assigned to that card and it's encased and it's forever plastic tomb, right? Unless you crack it open. So you have that and I have a lot of them. I went through my whatnot phase, my eBay phase, going through other phases and buying more in person, but also like transacting and trading. But this is I realized I people do sell their cards when they in times of need, but what if I have it what if I do that before, and have it save it for a rainy day type of thing, right? So um and life is unpredictable, and that's the beauty of the podcast and the direction I want to take it is life is unpredictable and my content is unpredictable, and I'm trying different things. And so, side note, a person I very highly regard in this hobby space, and I'm not going to name them here now or maybe ever, I don't know, right? I might have to talk to them and see if it's okay for me to say their name, but they said to me, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact quote is, "Hey, Denny, what I love most about you is that I have no clue what you're about to say next. I have no clue what you're about to post next or say next." And, that's man, weird enough as it is, that's high praise to me. I'm like, "Oh, cool. Thanks." So, life is unpredictable. I want to not for the sake of shock value, but keep this unpredictable because there is something really great to be said about, again, consistency, continuity, structure. But I want to kind of untether a little bit, and I do want to try to plan and make this more accessible via YouTube again for my international audience, like my Asian, hobby collector friends who can easily get YouTube but can't get podcasts. I want to try and push my YouTube content more, maybe do shorter videos or and then post them up as episodes, as bonus episodes for the podcast. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Um, I really haven't tried hard with YouTube at all up to this point. And again, like I said, it's not a failure on my part. I see it as a new challenge. I hope you listen right now, whatever you're doing, right? Whatever you think you've failed at, I hope you see it as a moment for an opportunity to do for a growth and success. I just hope you do, whether that's in or outside of the hobby. I mean, I think that's just a positive way to frame it, and I think that makes it exciting, as opposed to say anxiety ridden, which has happened to me. Um, but like if you can't tell, I mean, if this is your first episode listening to me, you must be like, what is going on with this guy? But and I didn't do a real proper introduction, but welcome to this podcast. And this is what I do. I dabble, I try new things out. I don't know if it's because like I'm not diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, but I do like trying new things out, seeing what I like, so seeing what I don't like. I know that I love the hobby. I know I've really started loving podcasting and that I really love, buying cards, but just I'm just figuring it out all out. I think we all are. And so that's the whole not premise of the podcast, but like that's my kind of thing that I do is I just try different things, jack of all trades, master of none. That's my self-proclaimed um phrase, I don't know, characteristic, whatever it is. What did I want to? I'm not going to go into another break. I might make this a 30-minute, 40-minute one quick. I mean, that's not even quick if you think about it. But I guess the final thing I wanted to say here on my talking points is, and this is going to be like maybe controversial, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I have to gauge my listenership. DM me. Let me know what you think about the following that I'm about to say. And some of you are very kind, and I mean, almost all of you are. I think the people who aren't, I think I've just blocked them and I just moved on with my life. So that's good. But yeah, when it comes to, well, I can't block people from the podcast, unfortunately, but it's fine. Just open myself up to everyone. I'm gonna take on a sponsor. Okay, that's what I want to say. Let me just rip the band-aid off. And I think I might make the next episode about that and the reason why and everything that goes around it. But this sponsor will be kind of like both for my Instagram content and the podcast. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do live reads, canned reads, how much creative control. I mean, the most important thing is I didn't want it to feel like work, but I also know that if something's worth it to you, you have to work at it and you have to hone it and craft it. And when someone is paying you, there is a certain level of professionalism that does go into it. So, for instance, I guess what I'm saying is I can't just wing it. But, I am going to go harder into the business side and the transaction side of the hobby with, buying, selling, and trading cards. Um, because I feel like my muscles for that have really been atrophying since the national. Because again, I was dealing with so much of the creative side of the hobby and building relationships, DMs, phone calls, Zooms, etc. And yeah, with like people all up and down the hobby ecosystem too. It was just wild. Don't worry, your secrets are safe with me. Okay. Um, but yeah, it was just limited hobby time, and I was getting away from the cards. So business side, transaction side, not just buying, selling, and trading cards, but also sponsorship. Um, yeah, it's okay if it feels a little bit like work. I think again, that's a challenge, and I'm willing to take it on until I guess maybe I'm not. Um, I think we all have breaking points. I think that time is the ultimate thing that can wear us all down. Just you can love something so much, but if you've done it for so long, you're just like, well, maybe I just don't do it anymore. We see athletes do that, but mostly because their bodies give out. But um, I think it's human to want to try different things. I mean, I think some of us are just more risk averse. Some of us are more risk seeking, and I don't know where I'm at with all that. But I do love a good new adventure. But I am also, for a lot of you listening who, well, the ones who really know me, know that I'm like super loyal and super just kind of like I maybe too much cling on to the past and all that stuff. But um, I mean, I know who I am, and uh, this part of me that wants to get better at the business side of the hobby is like it's like an itch I feel like I have to scratch. I got away from it. I was getting kind of okay with it. I was doing all right, and then I was like, oh, I love making content. And it wasn't. I really, honestly, it was not about the likes and the follows. It was. I mean, that was like the validation, right? The external validation, people saying, "Oh, they liked it," and that made me feel like, "Oh, like good, like I'm glad you like it, and here's more." But it's it's because I genuinely like editing reels. I just don't like editing podcasts. I don't like editing long form, and that I think is gonna be really hard for me with getting to YouTube is how to edit long form video without it consuming me. Because I know there are some people who do it really well and they have teams and they have people who follow them and editors, they pay them. You're not going to see me walking around any card show or any local card shop or anything with a camera crew. Nothing against the people who do that. I think, more power to them. They do tend to skew younger, but I think you all know the whole premise of my podcast is let's try to understand. You don't really understand a person until you're in their shoes or in their hobby shoes, right? Like, let's give a whatnot breaker a break because we haven't done it before, or let's give a dealer a break because we haven't been on that side of the table before, or a grading company, like, let's give them a break because we've never graded cards as a to earn our salary before. That's the whole thing, right? There's um humanizing people in the hobby. And so I think that's gonna be the undercurrent even with the bonus episodes. I hope. We'll see. But I wanna continue to explore that because I really do truly believe if we have more empathy towards each other, and again, thank you for the people who listen to this. It's kinda wild that you all do. But I think that if we can get to a better place with our own understanding of, like, just having more grace and compassion for people, for each other, and really being there for each other, I think that we can really make this a better hobby place. Is that where I end this? I had some more talking points, but maybe I should. Mm, Let me read this real quick. Oh yeah, you know what? This whole selling thing. I totally missed out on the preseason heading into the NFL season, like, selling period. People are like, it's best to sell right before the season start. I had all these cards, and none of them. I mean, not none of them, but like the vast majority of the cards that I sell, especially on eBay, like, I'm trying to do the low end grind, the under $20, the eBay standard envelope, 60 cents, with the stamp and I'm not gonna even say their name because 'cause they're not a sponsor, but, a envelope, and, selling my low end, $5, Justin Fields and other ultra modern hyped up quarterbacks, and I just sat on them, and of course, I mean, for those of you who are into football and into, say, the Bears, you'll know that that's kinda sucked. Although, oh my gosh, they beat the Commanders. So embarrassing. See? I'm already doing current events. Look at that. I feel so free to say that on my podcast. Thursday night football. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. I am not a gambling person. I would have bet so much money if I did that the Commanders were gonna win, but wow, really embarrassing. What was the final score? Like 40-20? So anyway, I just missed out. I missed out on that, really, apparently the golden era, not the golden era, the perfect, they in photography they call it the golden hour. But this whole concept that there's this perfect time of the day to take pictures because the light just hits your skin just right. So I think a lot of people kept saying perfect time to sell for, these ultra modern quarterbacks of any price point is right before the season start. And I had them. They're within arm's reach. I had piles. Oh my gosh, I have so many piles. And I just didn't take the time to post them up on eBay. And that's on me. I just had a lot of stuff going on in and out of the hobby, and I just I missed that window. It doesn't mean that I can't sell now. It's just that I won't, quote unquote, maximize the value or the selling price. But you know, I want to spend more time doing that, and I just sat on my inventory, and I have the money tied up, right? It's how liquid are these assets? The low end ones, I'll say they're not great. They were kind of raw. Again, eBay, standard envelope, under $20. Usually it's going to be like not a slapped card. Actually, for the standard envelope, it has to be like a raw card and like a card saver and a penny sleeve, right? But um, yeah, I gotta sell some of these cards. This is like too much. Like I'm like such a collector, and I've become so emotionally invested in my cards that I've bought that I'm like I don't have an emotional investment to Justin Fields, you know, Lawrence to all these guys. I mean, I like Mahomes, I guess, and um, I love. I'm sidetracking, but like this whole Deion Sanders, Leon Sandcastle, Kelsey with Swifty, like I think it's just all hilarious. I love it. I love just the zeitgeist, I think. So, but yeah, gotta sell these cards. I'm just looking around, kind of step. I'm a little bit away from the microphone, just looking at my cards. And man, baseball. I really, it's fun. I'm definitely gonna talk about why I got into hockey and a little bit into tennis in a future episode. But I think I should cut it here. Thank you for listening. I don't really have an outro on my. I had one, and then I just didn't copy and paste it into my talking points here. But all the different countries. I haven't really said like the Korean one. I should probably do that for the YouTube. But uh I mean, I'll say thank you in Korean. 감사합니다. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say that again over and over. It is October though. Oktoberfest. Dankeschön. Uh you guys are awesome. Like seriously, if you stayed all the way up until the end of this episode right now and you're hearing this, I think you're awesome. I don't know if you think you're awesome, but I very much appreciate you and I think you're awesome for listening all the way to here. Um I hope you like the next several episodes, and again, I do plan. You may not like them, right? But if you don't, I'll have a season 2. I'll get back to the chapters and the guests. But for now, wow. Thank you so much. You could be listening to any podcast in the world, but you were here with me for the last several um, minutes, 10-minute blocks of minutes. I don't know, but really appreciate you. All right. Rooting for you. Have a wonderful hobby day, week, month, or even your year. That's a friend's reference. All right. I'll see you later.